Chapter 1. Mystery Girl. It all began on a beautiful spring morning in a village called Whistler in Canada. A pretty little village in the mountains of British Columbia, Whistler had a charming café with tables outside. At one of these tables sat a young man who had just finished his breakfast, drank his coffee, looked up into the blue sky, and felt the warm sun on his face. Nick Lortz was a happy man. A waiter approached his table. "More coffee?" he asked. "Yeah, great," said Nick, handing the waiter his coffee cup. The waiter noticed the camera on the table. "On vacation?" he asked. "Where are you from?" "San Francisco," Nick replied with a laugh. "But I'm not on vacation. I'm working. I'm a travel writer, and I'm doing a book on mountains in North America. I've got some great pictures of your mountain." The two men looked up at Whistler Mountain behind the village. It looked very beautiful in the morning sun. "Do you travel a lot then?" asked the waiter. "All the time," Nick said. "I write books and for travel magazines. I write about everything, different countries, towns, villages, rivers, mountains, people." The waiter looked over Nick's head. "There's a girl across the street," he said. "Do you know her?" Nick turned and looked. "No, I don't." "Well, she knows you, I think," the waiter said. "She's watching you very carefully." He gave Nick a smile. "Have a nice day," he said, and went back into the cafe. Nick looked at the girl across the street. She was about 25 and very pretty. "She is watching me," Nick thought. The girl turned and looked into one of the shop windows. After a second or two, she looked back at Nick again. "She looks worried," he thought. "What's she doing? Is she waiting for somebody?" Suddenly, the girl smiled, walked across the street, came up to Nick's table, and sat down. She put her bag on the table, which was half open. "Hi, I'm Jan," she said. "Do you remember me? We met at a party in Toronto." "Hi, Jan," said Nick. He smiled. "I'm Nick, but we didn't meet at a party in Toronto. I don't go to parties very often, and never in Toronto." "Oh," the girl said, but she didn't get up or move away. "Have some coffee," said Nick. The story about the party in Toronto wasn't true, but it was a beautiful morning and she was a pretty girl. Maybe it was a party in Montreal or New York? The girl laughed. "Okay, maybe it was. And yes, I'd love some coffee." When she had her coffee, Nick asked, "What are you doing in Whistler? Or do you live here?" "Oh no," she said. "I'm just traveling through. I'm a travel writer," Nick said. "I'm writing a book about famous mountains." "That's interesting," she said, but her face was worried, not interested. She looked across the road again. A man with very short white hair walked across the road. He was about 60 years old, tall, and thin. The girl watched him. "Are you waiting for someone?" asked Nick. "No," she said quickly. Then she asked, "Where are you going next, Nick?" "To Vancouver for 3 or 4 days," he said. "When are you going?" she asked. "Later this morning," he said. There was a letter in the top of the girl's half-open bag. Nick could see some of the writing and read it because he saw the word Vancouver and We can meet at the Empress Hotel Victoria, Vancouver Island on Friday afternoon. So, she's going to Vancouver too, he thought. Suddenly, the girl said, "Do you like movies?" "Movies? Yes, I love movies," he said. "Why?" "I know a man, and he loves movies and going to the cinema," she said slowly. "People call him Mr. Hollywood." She smiled at Nick. "Can I call you Mr. Hollywood too?" Nick laughed. "Okay," he said. "And what can I call you?" She smiled again. "Call me Mystery Girl." "That's a good name for you," said Nick. Just then, the man with white hair came into the café. He did not look at Nick or the girl but sat at a table near them. He asked the waiter for some breakfast, then began to read a magazine. The girl looked at the man, then quickly looked away again. "Do you know him?" Nick asked her. "No," she said. She finished her coffee quickly and got up. "I must go now," she said. Nick stood up too. "Nice to," he began, but the girl suddenly took his face between her hands and kissed him on the mouth. "Drive carefully, Mr. Hollywood." "Goodbye," she said with a big, beautiful smile. Then she turned and walked quickly away. Nick sat down again and watched her. She walked down the road and into a big hotel. Now, what was that all about? He thought. The man with white hair watched Nick and waited. After 4 or 5 minutes, Nick finished his coffee, took his books and camera, and left the cafe. His car was just outside the girls' hotel, and he walked slowly along the street to it. The man with white hair waited a second, then quickly followed Nick. From a window high up in the hotel, the girl looked down into the road. She saw Nick and the man with white hair about 50 yards behind him. Nick got into his car, and the man with white hair walked quickly to a red car across the street. 5 seconds later, Nick drove away in his blue car, and the red car began to follow him. When the girl saw this, she smiled, then went to put some things in her travel bag. Chapter 2. A Hand in the Back. That evening, in his hotel room in Vancouver, Nick could not stop thinking about the girl in the Whistler Café. Why did she come and sit with him? She didn't know him, and that story about a party in Toronto wasn't true. And she was worried about something. But what? And that kiss. It was nice, of course, but why did she do it? Maybe she liked my face, Nick thought, or my brown eyes. But I'm not going to see her again, so it doesn't matter. Forget it. He put some money in his pocket and went downstairs to the hotel restaurant, but there were no free tables, so he walked down to Gastown and found a restaurant there. After dinner, he went for a walk. Vancouver was a friendly city, and Nick liked walking through Gastown and Chinatown, looking in the shops and watching the people. It was nearly dark now, and it was a busy time of the evening. There were a lot of cars and a lot of people. After a time, Nick began to walk back to his hotel. He came to a busy street and waited with a small crowd of people to go across. A tall woman in a blue dress stood next to him. She turned and smiled at him. "It's the first warm evening of spring," she said. "It's nice to be out after the long, cold winter." "Yes," said Nick. "It's great." Suddenly, there was a hand in his back, and the hand pushed Nick into the road. Nick fell on his face in front of a big green car. People screamed, but the green car stopped only inches from Nick's head. The woman in the blue dress ran into the road and pulled Nick to his feet. "Are you okay? What happened?" she said. The driver of the green car shouted angrily at Nick, but Nick did not hear him. "Somebody pushed me," he said to the woman. "I didn't fall. Somebody pushed me." "Pushed you?" said the woman. "Who?" "I didn't see anybody." Nick looked at the faces of the people near him, but he didn't know them. Then he saw a man's back. The man was tall and thin and had very short white hair. He walked quickly away down the street and did not look back. "Hey, you!" Nick shouted. "Wait!" But the man did not stop, and he was soon lost in the crowds. "Did he push you?" asked the woman in the blue dress. "I don't know," Nick said. "Do you know him?" she asked. "I don't know his name," Nick said, "but I know that short white hair. Now, where did I see it before?" The woman began to move away. "I must get home," she said. "Are you okay now?" "Yeah, I'm okay," Nick said, "and thanks. Thanks for your help." "That's okay," the woman smiled. "Be careful now." Back in his hotel, Nick sat on his bed and thought, "It was an accident. Nobody pushed me. It was an accident. Nobody wants to kill me, and there are hundreds of men in Vancouver with white hair." It was 1 o'clock in the morning, but Nick couldn't sleep. He listened to the cars in the road and looked at the night sky through his hotel room window. Then he sat at the table and tried to write some more of his book about mountains, but he couldn't think about his work. He got back into bed. There were 4 or 5 magazines in the hotel room. They were not very interesting, but Nick sat in bed, opened one, and saw a photo of Mystery Girl. He looked at the picture very carefully, but yes, it was her, Jan, the girl from the Whistler Café. She was with 3 other people, 2 men and a woman. And they were standing in front of a cinema. The name of the film on the cinema was *** Pride and Prejudice. The date in the magazine was nearly a year old, and the name under the photo was actress Verna Powell and Friends. At the opening night of the film *** Pride and Prejudice. So, she's an actress, Nick thought. I wonder what she's doing now, and why did she sit at my table? Then he remembered something else. The man with the short white hair was in the Whistler Café too. And he's following me, Nick thought. Why? And was it him who pushed me? I must know. Chapter 3. The Empress Hotel. At 10 o'clock the next morning, Nick went to the Empress Hotel and asked for Miss Verna Powell. The man at the front desk telephoned her room, and then Nick heard her voice. "Hello," she said. "Is that Jan?" Nick asked. "I mean, Verna?" "Mr. Hollywood," she said. "How did you find me?" "Can I come up and talk to you?" he asked. "Okay. Come on up," she said. "I'm in room 515. Nick took the elevator to the 5th floor and walked along to Verna's room. She opened the door and gave him a big smile. "Hello, Mr. Hollywood," she said. "How are you?" "I'm fine," Nick said. "And how are you?" "I'm okay," she said, but very busy. She opened the door wide, and Nick walked into the room. She had a lot of clothes, books, and papers on the floor and the bed. Nick sat in a chair near the window, and Verna sat on the bed. "Nice to see you again," she said. "Coffee?" "No, thanks," Nick said. "I need to ask you something." Verna smiled. "I know," she said. "I didn't meet you at a party in Toronto. I'm sorry about that. But I needed to sit with you." Nick nodded. "Okay, but why?" "I needed to get away from somebody," she said. "It was easy to talk to you." "Was it the man with the white hair?" Nick asked. Verna didn't answer immediately. She got up and looked out the window. "Yes, that's right," she said. "I don't know his name, but he's following me." Nick watched her. She was worried and afraid. "But why?" Nick asked. "I don't know," Verna said. "And why did you kiss me?" he asked. "Because I like you," she said, but she didn't smile this time. "Look," Nick said. "You can tell me the truth. I don't know you, but maybe I can help you." Verna sat on the bed again. "Maybe you can help me," she said. "But I'm afraid to talk." "Try," said Nick. "What about the letter in your bag? It had the name of this hotel on it." "Oh, that," Verna said. "Well, I wanted to talk to you in the Whistler Café, but the white-haired man was always near me. So, I wrote the letter and left my bag half open for you to see it." "And you saw me read the letter?" Nick asked. "Yes," Verna said, smiling now. "And I saw you come out of the cafe, and I saw the man with white hair follow you. You see, I know the letter was a good idea." "Yes," Nick said, "it was." He smiled back at her. "Okay, now let's have some coffee. We can talk about this and get some answers." "Okay," Verna said. "Let's do that." Chapter 4. The Man with White Hair. Verna made coffee, and she and Nick talked. Nick learned a lot about Verna's life and her work as an actress. "But I still don't know why the man with white hair is following you," he said. "I don't know," Verna said. "Maybe he's a crazy fan or something. I don't know." "Maybe," Nick said. "But why did he follow me last night and try to kill me?" Verna looked surprised. "What? He tried to kill you?" "Yes," Nick said. "Somebody pushed me into the road, and I think it was him." "Oh no," Verna said. "I didn't know that. I'm sorry, Nick." "Don't be sorry," Nick said. "But we need to find out who he is and why he's following you." "I know," Verna said. "But how can we do that?" "Well," Nick said, "maybe we can follow him." Verna looked at Nick. "Follow him? But how?" "Let's go to the cafe downstairs and see if he's there," Nick said. "He might be watching us now." Verna looked worried. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." They went downstairs and sat in the hotel cafe. They had coffee and watched the people coming and going. After about 20 minutes, Nick saw the man with white hair. He was sitting at a table near the door, reading a newspaper. "He's there," Nick said quietly to Verna. Verna looked. "Yes, I see him," she said. "Okay," Nick said. "Let's leave the cafe and see what he does." They got up and walked out of the cafe. Nick looked back and saw the man with white hair get up and follow them. "He's coming," Nick said. "Let's walk down the street and see where he goes." They walked down the street, and the man with white hair followed them. Nick and Verna went into a small shop and watched the man through the window. He walked past the shop and looked in the window. Then he walked on. "Okay," Nick said. "Let's follow him now." They left the shop and followed the man. He walked quickly down the street and turned into a small alley. Nick and Verna followed him, but when they turned into the alley, he was gone. "Where did he go?" Verna asked. "I don't know," Nick said. "But we need to be careful." They walked slowly down the alley, looking around. Suddenly, the man with white hair came out of a doorway and grabbed Verna. He pulled her into the doorway and shut the door. "Hey!" Nick shouted. "Let her go." The man did not answer. Nick ran to the door and tried to open it, but it was locked. He heard Verna scream inside. "Help!" she shouted. "Nick, help me." Nick looked around for something to open the door. He found a metal bar and used it to break the lock. The door opened, and Nick ran inside. He saw Verna on the floor, and the man with white hair was standing over her with the knife. Nick grabbed the man's arm and tried to take the knife away. They struggled, and the man cut Nick's arm with the knife. But Nick did not stop. He hit the man in the face, and the man fell to the floor, dropping the knife. Nick picked up the knife and helped Verna to her feet. She was shaking and scared. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "But let's get out of here." They ran out of the building and down the street. They found a taxi and went back to the hotel. "I need to call the police," Nick said. "That man is dangerous." "Okay," Verna said. "But I don't want to stay here. I want to go somewhere safe." "Don't worry," Nick said. "I'll take care of you." He called the police and told them what happened. Then he and Verna went to a different hotel, where they could be safe. Nick promised Verna that he would find out who the man with white hair was and why he was following her. And he would do everything he could to keep her safe.